The other issue that I want to tackle is this oft-repeated claim that we have not met the expectations of Ghanaians in 10 months. They raise oral, they raise galamsey, what have you. And more, I hope that you give me some time to address this. Paul can come in when I'm done. You see, the issue is that we said because of the pervasive nature of corruption, and Moro, on this show, you and your colleagues highlighted multiple instances of corruption. And coming into government, some of the things I've seen, including only last week, are mind-boggling. You know, the Auditor General is doing an audit into all the arrears claims that were presented to this government when we left. And eventually when he is done and he puts the report out, you will marvel at the sheer rape of the public purse by the MPP. So something needed to be done. So President Mama says, look, we will implement a policy called Operation Recover All Loot. In other words, anybody who is deemed to have unlawfully touched public funds will be held to account. That was always going to be a lawful process, not an arbitrary extrajudicial process. It meant that, first of all, investigations have to be conducted. Once the investigations are conducted, a docket is built. In other words, the evidence is put together, then presented to a court to adjudicate. The person against whom these allegations are made is then given every opportunity under the law to defend themselves, after which the judge will make, or the court will make a determination about their guilt or otherwise. So we, the state, can believe that we have a strong case against Paul in the, what do you call it, the Christmas tree matter or the Frontiers matter. But Paul, by all means, must be given every opportunity to defend himself. That process takes a bit of time. So I can tell you for free, Moro, that since we came into power, over 80 former government officials have been invited by the security agencies, NIB, which used to be called BNI. These days, you don't know where the NIB came from. You confuse it with the bank, but they are called NIB.
I think they should just revert to BNI. NIB.
Well, I'm not too big on reversion, but anyway, that's another discussion for another day. The police CID, IOCO, FIC, and others have been actively involved. 80 people have been questioned. Some of them have been granted bail. It's not all the cases that are highlighted in the way that Paul's arrest by the OSP is highlighted. So you may not hear about it. Some of them are just about to be taken, others have actually been taken to court. Look, this government has taken people to court earliest than any other in our history. As I speak, there are about 7 people who are standing trial. The Edubuayin case, the state is calling only 3 witnesses. 1 witness is done. They were actually doing cross-examination when the judicial vacation came on. There's nothing government can do about that because the judiciary is an independent arm. The Attorney General is prosecuting it. It is expected to be completed expeditiously. The SkyTrain case is on. Only last or this week, on Monday, I believe, Woon to me and 3 others have been put before court for their involvement in illegal mining in Ogalamsey. There are 20 others that are pending. The National Service case will go to court presently. There's a case we call Rumble in the Jungle, where the Attorney General may brief on sometime next week. Okay. That one too is due for court. But ultimately, due process must be used. The same people who in one breath claim that we are harassing them, the moment Paul is invited by the OSP, they say it's harassment. If you invite Woon to me, they say it's harassment. Meanwhile, the same people are all over the place claiming that oral is not working. Oral was never meant to be an arbitrary process. It was always going to be done under the auspices of due process. That's precisely what we are doing. The Attorney General is being meticulous. When they put that docket together, it will be hard to punch holes in them when you go to court. You see, forget about what they say in the media. Forget about what they say in the media. But when you go to court, that is where the real deal is. So I can assure all viewers that President Mama is strictly monitoring the implementation of oral. And nobody who has taken anything that does not belong to him or which belongs to the state is going to go scot-free to the extent that evidence is established. The cases are many, so you have to go through it with a fine comb. So the commitment remains. It is eternal. And it does not extend only to political opponents. President Mama has made it clear that if you are a member of his government and you get into trouble as far as corruption is concerned, don't call him because he will not pick up if it relates to seeking his intervention in that matter. And all of us are aware of it. He's told us in no uncertain terms. So that must be placed on record. The other issue that I wish to tackle is Galamsey. You see,
before you go to Galamsey, we'll come to Galamsey. As a topic.
Okay, all right. If you have a follow-up.
We haven't done the petition, so
but
can I just respond to? No, that's my.
Let's do this.
But can I respond to this very quickly?
respond to him. When you're done, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll do Galamsey and Japa.
As a news reporter, I've been looking at this issue of NDC have not performed under oral and all of that, and I didn't quite take it seriously because I agree with some of the things that she said. It's a procedure, and it's a process you go through to achieve these things. So when a government comes to power, and looking at reporting on government, it's happened all the time. In the first NDC administration post-2000, the Mills 2009, there was a lot of issues on Betty Moldidriso. It eventually led to her shifting from Attorney General's department because I was concerned that prosecution is not going on. During Gloria Kufu's time in 2017, there was again the concern raised that because of the campaign we wage, and I'll deal with that campaigns, when we're talking about how communication alone cannot win an election. The campaigns we wage, we come in and then the people are demanding. So I was just looking at it as one of those things. But I was struck by the event of the NDC Lawyers Conference, where no less a person than the General Secretary of the party expressed his personal worry about the way oral was progressing. And he pointed fingers at internal corruption. That is when I looked at it, I said, then perhaps there's something to look at. Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of the NDC, told NDC lawyers that he is aware of NDC people who are cutting deals with those who are to be prosecuted. And that if they don't stop those cutting deals, which is hampering the process of achieving oral.
He said attempting to.
Yes. Then he would. They are attempting to cut deals. And he knows them. Yes. He says he knows them. And that process is hampering the oral realization of oral. And that if they don't stop, Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of the party, will call them out. So that gave me the first indication of perhaps what could be the actual reason why oral is being hampered. Very different from the political conversations that I had and MPP taking advantage. No, I'm not interested in that. I've seen that happen so many times. I don't think that the NDC is doing something wrong. But when the General Secretary spoke in that manner, then I felt that, wow, we do have a problem. But I don't know where that matter is now. Now, on the campaign... I'll come to you in a minute. Right. So, on the campaigns of... the PR, the performance of government, which is really what goes to the polls. It's true. The other thing that we are noticing, which might make political tenure difficult for any government, is the extent to which opposition take advantage of certain things that they may clearly be aware that is not the doing of government as such. But because you are in government, they pin it on you. And then when they come to government, they create high expectations of how problems like that can be solved. And that then eventually affects the government. If we are not careful, we're going to be running four-year terms, because if that's how we're going to run our campaign, it's going to be very difficult for any four-year term to go to the polls and indicate among the 10 boxes that we had to tick, we have been able to take 3. We have not been able to take 7 because of this and that. If the opposition agrees that yes, you have ticked 3, the 7 you haven't ticked, we think that 5 you can't, but 2 you can. But if the opposition runs amok on a topic like Galamsey, and say that Galamsey is at the footstool of the government. Galamsey is a problem President Akufo-Addo can solve in 1 week. Galamsey is a problem where you need to declare a state of emergency. When they are aware that they are merely taking political advantage of a bad situation, they are aware of that. If we don't stop that, and every opposition can take advantage of government of every bad situation in Ghana, even when we are aware that this situation, dear, it is not government, but we want to take advantage of it, then we are going to have difficulties in running the show when we come to power. And that is why for the 10 months in government, if you look at the economic indicators, Felix is right. NDC's economic indicators look okay from January to now. If you look at prices, some prices may have gone up, but it's not significant. There is not significant doomsaw or very little or no doomsaw at all. So the NDC should really not have a difficulty now. The difficulty the NDC is having is a question of trust on the single subject of Galamsey. That's really the difficulty confronting the NDC. If the NDC had not run Galamsey amok as part of their campaign of 2024 and had recognized the efforts being made by the Akufo-Addo government and recognized that this Galamsey problem is not really a government problem, and people came on Good Morning Ghana and Sam George and others say that Galamsey can be solved in 1 week. It is President Akufo-Addo who is doing it. It is MP people who are doing it. And the citizens agree. They hear them and they believe it. And then they vote them into power. That is when they are having this concern just in 10 months of office. And President Mahama now says state of emergency, which was said by some of his lieutenants as being the solution to the problem. the real proper solution to the problem, that state of emergency may not come. MPP apologists will tell you that President Mohammed's efforts to fight Galamsey is merely rehashing everything Akufo-Addo did, which didn't work. So these are the points I want to make.
Paul raised the issue of what Fifi Kwete has said. Fifi Kwete, as a party executive, reserves the right to criticize what he believes to be happenings that he disagrees with in government. But you see, when the president met the media at the Jubilee House, in fact, Fifi Kwete was sitting very close to me. The president made it clear that the buck stops with him. He, as president, has told the Attorney General that no amount of interference will dissuade government from pursuing oral. That influential members of society walk up to the Attorney General or any other person they may deem have some influence in the prosecution of people to seek to intervene on their behalf or plead for some clemency. There's no reason why oral will not be implemented. So that in itself does not prevent government from doing what has to be done. If the man who Ghanaians are giving the mandate to ensure that oral is undertaken says that he's not going to do it, then you have a problem. Or if the objective facts on the ground is that people are not being investigated, charges are not preferred, and people are not being taken to court, then you could say so. But that is not the case. So we need to listen to what the president has said. He made it clear that he has given the Attorney General the all go, the all clear, the green light to do whatever it takes to implement it. And I can, from where I sit at the vantage point, so I can tell you that I am in touch on a daily basis with the Attorney General and his staff. It is going on live, and nobody has been able to intervene on anybody's behalf since we came to power. So that must be